Wendy and Abby's journey to motherhood began in their 40s when they decided to become single mothers by choice. Here is their story.
I started the fertility process when I was about 43, and I knew kind of going into it that I was starting late and that donor eggs were probably in the cards for me. I had gotten a donor who gave me all of the eggs from her cycle, and there were like 30-something eggs, and then I had like 17 embryos. So I think I used 10 of the embryos and couldn't get pregnant. So then I just dived into researching adoption, and I think that took about 2 years until I got the call that I was matched for my daughter.
I didn't start actually trying to get pregnant until I was like 42 or 43, same as Wendy. So I did 3 IUIs. I had considered fostering children. I had looked into adoption, but I was sort of at the end of my road.
Then one day, Abby called me and said, "Do you still have those embryos?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
So Wendy gave me 7 healthy embryos. I used 4 embryos to have 1 healthy baby. I was 1 month shy of 47 when I gave birth.
Wow, what a story. To tell us more, Wendy and Abby, join us live. Thank you.
So Abby, once Wendy donated the embryos to you, you actually got to transport the embryos yourself.
Wow,
so what was that experience like?
So wild. I mean, this is a fairly new field. And I didn't know that it was going to be my responsibility to take these embryos across New York City. And so I had to go to a fertility clinic, get the apparatus to bring the embryos across town, go get the embryos, because Wendy had a different reproductive endocrinologist as I did. There was a waiting period for that. It was very nerve-wracking. But I brought a girlfriend with me, and we did, I'm not Catholic, but we decided to go into St. Patrick's because it was right down the street, and we blessed all the embryos and had fun with it. And it was all about the girl power and having fun, and super trippy to do also.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Good female friendship there. Wendy, I wanted to ask you, what was the hardest, and may I add the word surprisingly hardest part of your journey in becoming a mother?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the nuts and bolts of trying to get pregnant or trying to adopt. And those, I mean, while they are hard, I found those kind of okay. Like I could do the shots, I could do the paperwork, but what was really hard that really kind of knocked me for a loop was just sort of the emotional turmoil in my head, which was really just all from my own self-doubt. Like, is this a legitimate pursuit? Are people going to laugh at me? Is this crazy? Are people going to tell me crazy? Am I going to be bad at this? Does the universe not want me to do this? Because you start thinking of that if, you know, after not being able to get pregnant or whatever, you know, and definitely I kept thinking this isn't a legitimate pursuit, which I thought was interesting to use the word. But then, and I really tortured myself, as you know, one does. And then all of a sudden it happened, and I really wish that I had never done that, because I think I always knew I wanted to be a parent, and I wasn't really going to give up unless I kind of really had to for one reason or another. And yeah, I wish I had been a little easier on myself.
A little more compassionate. Thank you for that.
So Abby, I'm always like singing single parent praises on this show, but you chose to be a single parent. So what do you want people to know about that?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. It's a great question, and I love answering this question because I actually feel like I'm a trailblazer, if I do say so myself. And I encourage people to choose being a single parent. I say the challenges of parenting a child are nothing compared to the challenges of being in a bad relationship. And so if you find the right partner, I think that's a wonderful thing. I didn't, and I knew very late in life that I wanted to have a child, and it just feels like kind of breaking the fairy tale myth that we're all fed when we're younger. Feels like a really positive step for me. And so being a parent to Gala has been the gift of my life, and there's just nothing else that I would rather be doing with my time in my no.
Well, hats off to you. Hats off.
Yeah, wow. Say it loud.
Proud and loud. That's right.
What a pioneer, too. So, Wendy, what do you want women 40 and up to take away from your story?
I think just to, again, be easy on yourself, whatever your process is. And I think it's very individual for every woman. You know, some women may not be comfortable with adoption or, you know, one kind of treatment or another. And I think it's just very personal. And I think even the choice to decide to not have a child is a great choice. And one can have a beautiful life either way. And I would just say, don't do what I did and torture yourself, because there's just nothing in it for you. Like, go enjoy life. However you're going to do it, don't worry too. Well, you're going to worry, but like, try not to torture yourself like I did, because I could have been out partying or reading parenting books or something, or reading a book.
Yeah. It's inefficient. It's inefficient. Yeah.
Well,
and for fun.
Yeah.
No, that's great advice. Abby,
one day the phone will ring, you know, and you'll be a parent.
Very true. Well, Abby, I'll ask you the same question. What do you want women 40 and up to take away from your story?
I talk about my story quite a bit. I have an Instagram account about it. I really think it's important for women to not feel any shame around their fertility journey and just never give up. I spoke to my reproductive endocrinologist a couple of years after I had my daughter, or a couple months after I had my daughter, and he was like, you just had the end in sight. And I kind of said to him, well, doesn't everybody have the end in sight? And he said, no, but you have to be very determined and get your girlfriends on board with you, get your family on board with you, get your male friends on board with you, form a team, and just don't give up.
I love it. I love it so much. Wendy and Abby, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. We appreciate you both. Thank you. We'll be right back. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.